Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Friday, March the 11th. We got a big Friday night slate, 10-game slate tonight. Obviously, we just had a little 2-gamer for Thursday, but we're back with a bigger slate for Friday. As always, guys, we're going to talk through each one of these 10 games, kind of give my quick thoughts, what I do like from each team, what stands out to me, taking a first look at the slate on Thursday night. Then as we do go through each game, we will build out an early core, talk about 5 players that do specifically stand out to me on both DraftKings and on Yahoo at first look. But as always, guys, I appreciate you watching the videos, appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have not yet, make sure you hit that like button down below. Also, subscribe to the channel as well. If you haven't yet, we are on the road to 25,000 subscribers, and hopefully we'll hit that milestone within the next month or so with your guys' help, with all the new faces we've seen on the channel. If you guys have not yet, hit that subscribe button. Also, go check out the sponsor of this video, PrizePicks. So PrizePicks, very simple DFS site to use. They're more focused on player props. So it's very simple. You're picking the over or the under on players' projections. Since we have a 10-game slate on Friday night, there are going to be a ton of props available from just about every game. You can take a look at their board. They do already have some stuff up for Friday night's games. Again, you're just picking the over or the under on players' projections. They have points projections, assists, rebounds, points, rebounds, assists added together. They have three-pointers made. They have fantasy point projections too. So if you have access to your own fantasy point projections, you can use yours and compare them to PrizePicks and make your decisions that way. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money on PrizePicks. So go check them out, guys. Sign up, use my promo code, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. And I will have my video posted for PrizePicks sometime Friday morning, probably around lunchtime, 11, 12 Eastern. I'll get that video up talking through a couple of my favorite plays on PrizePicks for today, for those of you that do already play over there. But let's take a look at Friday night slate, guys. Let's start off with the Minnesota and Orlando game. So looking at the Timberwolves today, we need to monitor a few question marks here. They're not super impactful, and I expect a lot of these questionable guys to play. But Anthony Edwards is questionable. He did return last game after being out for like a week or so. Made his return last game. I would expect Anthony Edwards plays today. Jared Vanderbilt's questionable after sitting out last game. Jordan McLaughlin, Taurean Prince questionable too. But yeah, when you look at this Minnesota team, there's not a ton that stands out from Minnesota today. It's a game against Orlando that has a little bit of blowout risk. Right now, I think even though they're playing at home, Orlando, I want to say they're like 5 or 6 point dogs. I honestly haven't looked at the spreads, but I would expect, there's a little bit of blowout risk here. At 10-7, I don't think Cat really stands out on this slate. I don't think D'Angelo Russell or Anthony Edwards really stand out, especially if Edwards plays. Now, if Edwards does get ruled out, then maybe you could go to D'Angelo Russell at 7,900 because he would get a little boost if Edwards is out. But there's not much here I like from Minnesota. Malik Beasley started last game, played really well, had a huge game. Maybe if Edwards sits again and Beasley starts, you could go to Malik Beasley, but his price has come up to 5,200 now, so even if Malik Beasley does start, I don't think he'd be like this slam dunk, free square or anything, but he would at least be playable. But again, there's not much I like from Minnesota today. One of the, least appealing teams on the slate, I would say. If Anthony Edwards gets ruled out, then that'll change, some of my thoughts here, but for now, I'm not expecting to get much exposure to this Minnesota team. And then on the other side with Orlando, they're just not a team I have much interest in right now. I was high on some of these guys last slate. I took actually some props from Orlando. Last slate, I needed 10 rebounds from Wendell Carter Jr. to win a couple of my PrizePicks entries. And for some reason, in a close game, none of the starters played in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was a 6-point game. The Magic won by 6, and none of the starters played in the fourth quarter. I don't know if they were, if they just thought they could keep the lead. I don't know if they planned that. You can look at the minutes right now, and most of the starters are playing maybe 30, 32 minutes. I mean, Wendell Carter Jr., he's kind of been getting the most minutes, but Cole Anthony, they've been keeping him around 32 minutes. It's just, God, this is not a team I really want to get much exposure to. They run a pretty deep rotation. They're going to play a lot of guys every night. They're obviously a really bad team, so there's definitely blowout risk here. If you want to sprinkle in some Cole Anthony in tournaments or maybe some Wagner in tournaments or Wendell Carter Jr., I don't hate it, but there's nothing that stands out from this Magic team today. So let's move on to the next game. Talk about Detroit and Boston. So another game that definitely has a lot of blowout risk. Obviously, Boston, a really good team at home playing a really shitty Detroit team. So not a game I want to get super exposed to, but on the Detroit side, we still do have Isaiah Stewart out. Also, Hamidou Diallo is going to be out. Killian Hayes is out. Frank Jackson's out. So they're kind of missing a good amount of bodies. We'll probably see some of these bench guys get a few more minutes, like Saban Lee, Corey Joseph. Maybe I know Livers has been getting some minutes, so maybe they'll play him a little bit more. I don't know if those those out tags are too impactful, but I think the Isaiah Stewart one, we talked about how it changed the last slate with Marvin Bagley starting at center. Marvin Bagley was a very popular play last slate and, busted as chalk. He played 28 minutes. He did get into some foul trouble, though, finished with 19 DraftKings points. I know the matchup here is tough against Boston, but I think if Marvin Bagley stays out of foul trouble, he'll play 30 to 32 minutes. Obviously, there's a little bit of blowout risk here. Would Marvin Bagley play in a blowout? I don't think so. So we're probably going to need the game to stay close. If it does, though, Marvin Bagley does have a lot of upside. He's a fantasy point per minute player. He's been a fantasy point per minute player this year with the Pistons, and he should play around 30 to 32 minutes. I don't think anyone's going to play him today after he busted last slate, so I'm actually fine going back to Marvin Bagley in tournaments. I think his ownership will be really, really low. And even in a tough matchup, we've seen Marvin Bagley be able to have success and be productive when he does get minutes, and I think the minutes will be there as long as he can stay out of foul trouble. So I definitely like Marvin Bagley at 5,500. I like that he has power forward and center eligibility on DraftKings, and on Yahoo he's power forward over there. So $19 at power forward. I do like Marvin Bagley quite a bit. Again, I think he's a really good tournament play. I think he'll be a lot lower owned than he was last slate, and the upside's still there for him, even though he did bust, as chalk last slate. The rest of Detroit, Cade Cunningham, Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey, these guys are fine. Cade Cunningham's been playing really well lately, but this is a really tough spot against Boston, so almost 8K. I'm not super interested in Cade Cunningham. Kelly Olynyk will play the backup 5. He played 20 minutes last game. He was really productive in those 20 minutes. I think we're probably just going to see him and Marvin Bagley split the center minutes again, but maybe in this matchup against Boston, a team that does play big, maybe they'll play Bagley and Olynyk a little bit alongside each other. For now, though, if I expect Marvin Bagley to play 30, 32 minutes, that probably means that Kelly Olynyk's only getting 18 minutes. Obviously, if Bagley gets in foul trouble or something, then yeah, that would definitely help Kelly Olynyk. Kelly Olynyk is a productive player when he does get minutes, so as a low-owned dart throw, you could go there. Obviously, you don't want to play Bagley and Olynyk in the same lineup, but if you want to play Olynyk for GPPs as a low-owned option, I guess it's fine, but that's probably it from Detroit. Let's go ahead and move on to the other side of this game with Boston. So Boston, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, I think are both fine options today. Neither one stand out, though, on this slate. We do have 10 games, and there's a lot of pay-up options. In a game like this that does have a lot of blowout risk, I could see Tatum or Brown, one of these guys, really popping off here. Detroit's obviously not a team we should be scared about on the defensive end. This is definitely a spot where Tatum could smash. I have no issues going to Tatum. He's been playing really well lately. It's just that there are so many other studs you can go to. You have Luka in a great matchup against Houston. You got Trae Young. You got so many stud options today. I don't think Tatum and Brown are priorities for me, but they're at least playable. Robert Williams in this matchup against Marvin Bagley, I think he should have a lot of success. Robert Williams is a guy that can be really productive when he does get minutes. His minutes have been pretty high lately. He was in foul trouble last game, but most nights he's going to play mid to high 30s minutes. So Robert Williams is a fine play. And that's probably it from Boston. I don't see too much else I really like here. So let's move on to the next game, the Clippers and the Hawks. Looking at the Clippers today, Reggie Jackson, just too expensive right now on DraftKings to be worth rostering. He had a really good game last game, put up 50 DraftKings points, and at 8,400, that's still not, you want almost more than that. 50 DK points is good for Reggie Jackson, but at 8,400, I'm looking for 50, 55. I feel like 50 is almost like a true ceiling game from Reggie Jackson. If Reggie Jackson goes out there and puts up 50 again, obviously he'll turn out to be a pretty solid play, but I think he's just too expensive right now on DraftKings to be worth rostering. Zubac at 6,500, another guy I'm not super high on at that price point. Marcus Morris, he's been a super frustrating player to roster lately, but he finally did have a big game last game. Played 35 minutes, had 48 DraftKings points. You can look at his game log and just see for yourself. Before last game, he was terrible, 20 DK points, 6 DK points in a blowout, 17 DK points. I think if you told me before the slate started that Marcus Morris was going to play 35 minutes again, I'd have a lot of interest in him. But we've just seen Ty Lue, his rotations just be so crazy. Some nights he'll play these guys big minutes. Some nights, if they're not playing well, he'll just play the bench guys a lot of minutes. He likes to ride the hot hand. If Marcus Morris can come out hot and play well out of the gate, I think he does have big-time upside. I'm just a little bit worried that, the minute security is not there. He can still get, low 20s minutes if he's not playing well. But given that he's coming off a big game, you would have to think maybe he's got a little bit of momentum right now. I think 5,700 for Marcus Morris is totally fine. Terrence Mann did go to the bench last game. I'm not sure if that's something they're going to plan on doing in the future, if they're going to keep bringing him off the bench, or if he's going to move back in the starting lineup. If he's coming off the bench again, 5,500, going to be tough to go to Terrence Mann. If he does start, though, I'd feel a little bit better about him. He'd be an okay option. That's really it, though, from the Clippers. Amir Coffey, he was the one that started in place of Terrence Mann, but he didn't really do much. Amir Coffey hasn't shown much upside even when he's gotten minutes this year, so not super high on him anyway, even if he does start again. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's move on to the other side of this game with Atlanta. So, looking at the Hawks, you got Trae Young coming in at 10,100. I think Trae Young on this slate looks like a pretty solid pay-up option. Like this matchup against the Clippers, I don't think the Clippers, defensively against guards, they are a team you can attack. Whether it's Reggie Jackson or Amir Coffey, like Trae Young should be able to have success in this matchup. The ceiling for Trae Young is always there. His floor is still a little bit lower than some other studs. Trae Young can have those games where he puts up like 35, 40 DK points. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those games where we see like 55, 60 from Trae. I think the ceiling's definitely there. I think at 10-1, he's firmly in play today. I do prefer him over like Tatum and Brown, I think, if I had to choose between like those three studs. The rest of Atlanta, I don't see too much else I like here. John Collins at 5,900 feels a little bit cheap, but I mean, he's just a tough guy to roster just because he's so inconsistent. We've seen John Collins post ceiling games at times, and we've also seen like a really low floor from him. If he starts and plays 30, 35 minutes, he's got upside, but not a play I'm super excited about on a 10-game slate. Clint Capella's minutes have gone back down since John Collins has come back, so not really interested in him. I think Trae's the one guy that stands out from Atlanta, and that's probably it. So let's move on to the next game, Dallas and Houston. This is one I do have some interest in, especially on the Dallas side, because it is a really good matchup here for Dallas going up against the Rockets. Rockets been, one of the the fastest paced team in the league this season. They've been the worst defense as well. Literally can't draw up a better matchup for Luka. If this game can stay close, I think Luka just could go nuts here. I mean, there's no one on Houston that can guard him. I think this game being played in Houston should help to keep it close. I think we should see Luka play close to his full minutes. If he plays 36, 38 minutes here, he's got 70-plus point upside against this Rockets defense. The Rockets play fast as well. It's such a good spot here for Luka. He's my favorite pay-up option on the slate. $12K on Draftkings. He's obviously expensive, but I want to try and find a way to get him in. And then on Yahoo at $56, if I can fit in Luka on Yahoo, I like him quite a bit over there as well. Really like Luka. We will need to keep an eye on the status of Jalen Brunson. He did return last game, but he's questionable once again. If Jalen Brunson remains out, or if he's out again, you could go to Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie would start in place of Brunson, probably play anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes. He actually played 40 minutes the last time Brunson was out. So I think 6,300 for Dinwiddie. He'd be a fine tournament play if Brunson is out. If Brunson plays, there's not much else I really like on Dallas. I think Luka is definitely the priority here. That's really it from the Mavs. So let's talk about the other side of this game with Houston. And with Houston right now, there are a lot of question marks. Two big ones that we'll need to monitor are the statuses of Christian Wood and Jayshawn Tate. Christian Wood and Jayshawn Tate are both questionable for today. They both sat out last game. So with them out, we did see Şengün start and we saw KJ Martin start. Şengün has obviously been a really productive player when he's gotten minutes, and he showed that last game, putting up 50 Draftkings points in 40 minutes against the Lakers. Price tag went way up to 6,200, but I would still be interested in Şengün today if Christian Wood's out and he starts. And then KJ Martin, he started last game in place of Jayshawn Tate, played 40 minutes in overtime, had 36 DK points. I'd be fine going right back to KJ Martin. He's shown that he can be productive when he gets minutes, and the Rockets have shown they will play him big minutes. He's one of their younger guys they want to try and develop. So definitely think KJ Martin at 4,900 if Jayshawn Tate is out. Him and Şengün would both be really good plays. I think Kevin Porter Jr. as a mid-range guard option looks pretty solid. He had a really big game last game against the Lakers, 42 Draftkings points in 36 minutes. Don't love this matchup against Dallas. Dallas has been a really good defensive team this season. But I think Kevin Porter Jr.'s upside is always there in games that can stay close. And, if you're playing Luka today, it might make sense to run it back with someone on the Houston side and just, kind of hope the game stays close, because if it does, you could see Kevin Porter Jr. play 35, 36 minutes, and, he's got big-time upside when he plays those kind of minutes. But that's probably it from Houston. Jalen Green has been playing well lately. He is someone that I haven't rostered much this season. 6K though, I think 6K for Jalen Green, that price has come to a point where I'm just not really interested anymore. If he goes out there and puts up another 40-point game, then so be it. But yeah, not interested in Jalen Green at 6K. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, talk about the Knicks and the Grizzlies. This is not a game I'm super into. On the Knicks side, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, they're both always fine options, but on this slate specifically, 10 games, do either one of these guys stand out as top options? I don't think so. Randle's almost 10K. Don't love the matchup here. He's got upside anytime he steps on the floor, but not a priority play for me. RJ Barrett at almost 8K. Again, always has upside in games that stay close. We know he'll play big minutes, but 7,900 doesn't stand out to me at that price point. And the rest of the Knicks, Alec Burks, Quickly, Fournier, Mitchell Robinson, I don't see much here. I know Quickly's been playing really well. He's kind of earned more minutes lately, but he's been priced up to 5,200. So I think now that Quickly's 5,200, even if he plays like 30 minutes, if he goes out there and puts up like 40 DraftKings points, then so be it. But I feel like most nights when Quickly plays 30 minutes, he's going to probably produce, 25, 28 DraftKings points, which is solid, but that's not a score that like you're going to have. So there's not much I like on the Knicks today. This is definitely one of the least appealing teams to target. And then on the other side with Memphis, I think, looking at Memphis today, Ja Morant is the one guy I do have some interest in from Memphis, just because we know the massive upside that Ja Morant has on a nightly basis. I think I'd rather get to Luka. I think there's a few other studs I might rather target on this slate, but Ja can put up a huge game any night, and I think with it being a 10-gamer with so many other options, I do expect Ja to come in fairly low owned. Anytime you can play Ja at low ownership, it's always appealing. No issues going to him. He's the one guy that I do like from Memphis. Outside of Ja, I don't think I'm going to anyone else here. Dylan Brooks, I believe, is doubtful today. He's not expected to return just yet, so I don't think we need to talk about that, obviously, but yeah, like Ja's the one guy I like from Memphis. Nothing else really stands out on the Grizzlies. So next game, Cleveland and Miami. Another game that should be played at a really slow pace. Not going to be a ton to target here. On the Cleveland side, it's obviously a tough matchup going up against the Heat. Darius Garland's role has been really, really good lately. He's been playing big minutes. He's had the ball in his hands a ton. Obviously coming off a huge game where he went for 72 DraftKings points against Indiana. This is a much tougher spot, though, against Miami. I mean, one of the toughest defenses in the league, one of the best defensive teams overall. 9K for Darius Garland in this matchup. Like, I'm not really interested. I think Evan Mobley's still appealing just because without Jared Allen, we will see Evan Mobley start at center. His rebound numbers have been really good when he started at center and he's also just been more productive for fantasy with Jared Allen off the floor this season. We've seen that the last two games against Toronto after Jared Allen got hurt. Mobley had a huge game. In the last game against Indiana, Allen was out, obviously, and Mobley put up a big game there as well. Now, the one thing, again, it's a tougher matchup here against Miami. Don't love the spot going up against Bam, but Evan Mobley is a really talented player, and I think not having Jared Allen out there does help to boost his ceiling and his upside, and we've seen that in the last two games. Price tag hasn't come up that much either, so I'm still fine going to Evan Mobley as a tournament play. Kevin Love was a pretty popular option last slate, and for some reason, he only played 15 minutes. Kevin Love's been a pretty consistent part of the Heat rotation this season. Not the Heat, the Cavs rotation this season. I don't know why. Last game, he only played 15 minutes with Jared Allen out. You would have to think with Jared Allen out moving forward, Kevin Love's going to play 25, 30 minutes on a nightly basis, but definitely concerning that he only played 15 minutes last game. I think that does make him just more of a contrarian option today. The price tag went up. Obviously, he's coming off a bad game. I think he will be very low owned. Don't hate going to Kevin Love as a low owned tournament play, but it's a little concerning that he only played 15 minutes last game, even with Jared Allen out. The rest of Cleveland, I'm not really interested in, so let's talk about the Miami side. And on Miami, we will need to monitor the status of Jimmy Butler, who is questionable for this game. He was questionable for the last game and did not play. With Jimmy Butler questionable, obviously that impacts guys like Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry. Those guys would all get little boost if Jimmy does sit. On this slate, would any of those three guys stand out as like priority plays? I don't think so, just because the matchup against Cleveland is pretty tough. The price tags on these guys are not like super, super cheap, but I think Bam's upside without Jimmy would definitely be a lot higher. I wouldn't mind going to him at 8,600, even in a tougher spot. Same with Tyler Hero at 7,300. Kyle Lowry had a pretty solid game last game, or I thought he did. I thought he got off, or he might actually got off to like a really hot start. I remember checking the game log, the box score. He had like, I want to say like 20 DraftKings points or something like that in the first quarter. He got off to a really hot start. I guess he didn't do anything after that. But yeah, I think like Lowry, Hero, Bam, their ceilings, their upsides all go up if Jimmy sits. If Jimmy plays, I don't really see anything here that I'm interested in. I mean, Jimmy himself could maybe be fine, but this is not a game I'm super excited about. I think Evan Mobley is probably my favorite play in this game, and that's probably it. So let's move on to the next one. Talk about Charlotte and New Orleans. This is definitely the game to target, in my opinion, especially on the New Orleans side, because we're going to talk about some injuries that have, or not even injuries, but COVID protocols have opened up some value on New Orleans that we'll touch on in a second. Starting off on the Charlotte side, though, I think this is a really good spot for Charlotte going up against the Pelicans. So far this year, in terms of defensive rating, the Pelicans, I want to say they've been kind of mediocre. I mean, they're about middle of the pack in defensive rating on the season. In terms of pace, They where they at in pace? Let's see. They're towards the bottom of the league in pace, but we know Charlotte plays really fast. I think this is a game that definitely could be high scoring. I think we could see a lot of points scored here. I think this is a game that should stay close as well. And we know in games that stay close, LaMelo Ball should, Terry Rozier should, and Miles Bridges should play big minutes. Now, we have seen a few games lately, LaMelo's minutes have not been super high, even in close games. Last game, he was in a little bit of foul trouble, but even in the Brooklyn game, he only played 30 minutes. The San Antonio game, he only played 29 minutes. Like, if they're only going to play LaMelo 30 minutes a night, which is what they've been doing lately, it's tough to consider him a top option, but I think the ceiling is still there for LaMelo in the games where he does get 35, 36 minutes. Terry Rozier, though, his minutes have been very, very consistent. They've been very high. He's been playing, 35, 37, 38 minutes over his last 3 games. At 7,900, I think Terry Rozier is definitely in play here. Obviously, a much better matchup today than they had on Tuesday against Boston. So I think Terry Rozier is definitely in play. Miles Bridges, I don't hate either. 7,300 does feel a little bit too cheap for Miles Bridges and what should be a pretty good game environment. In the rest of Charlotte, there's not too much else I like here. I will say that P.J. Washington, as long as he continues to start, he's a fine play. His minutes have been really good lately. Last 2 games he started, he's played 37 and 42 minutes. So I don't hate 5,200 P.J. Washington if he's starting still, which he should be. But definitely like LaMelo, Rozier, Bridges, those are the guys that really stand out from this Hornets team. And then on the other side with the Pelicans, so the Pelicans, they're the most appealing team on the slate, in my opinion. Missing CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum going to be out for health and safety protocols. Brandon Ingram is going to be out as well, and then obviously Zion's still out. So no CJ McCollum, no Brandon Ingram. That just opens up so much usage, so much opportunity for guys like J-Val, Herb Jones, Devontae Graham. And I think all 3 of those guys are really good plays today. I mean, 7,800 for J-Val in this matchup against the Hornets, like that's just way too cheap. J-Val should be able to dominate here. The Hornets, one of the worst defensive teams against centers. They've allowed a ton of fancy points to the center position. J-Val's coming off a big game against Orlando. I know J-Val has been very inconsistent this season. He's been a frustrating player to roster, but he should just get a ton of opportunity here without Brandon Ingram and without CJ McCollum. So really, really like J-Val today. Like him on both sides. $28 on Yahoo. That's just way, way too cheap for this matchup, or $29, excuse me. Really like J-Val over on Yahoo. And then Herb Jones, Devontae Graham, I think both these guys are really good plays as well. Again, I like those guys on Yahoo. Their price tags didn't really change over there. Devontae Graham, super, super cheap. He's only $11. I think he's definitely probably the best value play on the slate. I'm expecting Devontae Graham to start in place of CJ McCollum. I'm expecting him to play big minutes. Obviously, revenge game against Charlotte, against his former team. Really, really good matchup. I mean, Devontae Graham, he's not been super productive this year with the Pelicans, but he should get a ton of opportunity today. I mean, no CJ McCollum, no Brandon Ingram. We've seen, the last few games, even without Ingram, Devontae Graham's looked a little bit better. Now you take CJ McCollum off the floor, and that just opens up so much usage. So I think we're going to get a very good game from Devontae Graham, and he is just way too cheap at 4,300. I think Herb Jones' upside's a little bit higher. I think he should play big minutes. I think he might get more opportunities to score. He's been able to contribute with defensive stats this year, which is always something that just kind of a little bonus when guys can get you a couple blocks and a couple steals. That's something that Herb Jones can always do. And what should be a fast-paced game, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for steals and blocks, for rebounds, for putbacks, all that stuff. So definitely like Herb Jones, definitely like J-Val, Devontae Graham. I think all these guys are really solid plays. The rest of New Orleans, Jackson Hayes, I don't know if his role changes too much, but his minutes should be a little bit more secure. You might see, maybe Garrett Temple play a little bit more, maybe Tony Snell play a little bit more, but I don't think I'm going to be going to any of these guys. Jose Alvarado, he's the one guy I could maybe see going to just because he has been really productive when he's gotten minutes, and you'd have to think without McCollum, he's probably going to play a little bit more. They will play him alongside Devontae Graham, so Alvarado at 3,100 as a punt play I think is totally fine to go to. But that's probably it from the Pelicans. Let's go ahead and move on to the next game, the Jazz and the Spurs. So this is not a game I'm really interested in on the Jazz side. It is a pretty good matchup against San Antonio. I think my favorite play here is probably Rudy Gobert. 7,400 for Gobert does feel a little bit too cheap. I mean, Gobert, obviously last game was very, very limited because it was just a massive blowout against Portland. He only played 22 minutes. But the last few games that have been competitive, we've seen Gobert play 34, 34, 38 minutes against Houston. I think if today's game stays close, we should get 32, 34 minutes against Gobert. And against Jakob Poeltl, I think that is a pretty good matchup for him. I think this is definitely a spot where we could see Gobert really dominate on the glass. He's done well against the Spurs this season when they played. So I think Gobert is my favorite play from Utah. Do want to mention that Bojan Bogdanovic is out, so we'll have to pay attention to the Jazz starting lineup. I'm guessing probably Daniel House starts, so still minimum 3K. If Daniel House does wind up starting for Bojan, like he's an okay value play. He hasn't showed a ton of upside this season when he's gotten minutes, especially playing alongside Mitchell and Conley and Clarkson. But if he starts, he probably plays 25, 30 minutes, and he's minimum salary. So definitely think Daniel House will be worth considering if he winds up starting for Bojan. That's really it, though, from Utah. And then on the other side with San Antonio, DeJounte Murray has been incredible this season. He's been unstoppable. 11K, though, in this matchup against the Jazz. I don't think I'm going to be looking at DeJounte Murray today. I think there's just other studs I'd rather go to. Now, the matchup against Utah, like, it's not as bad as you would think. Utah's defense has definitely not been nearly as good this season as previous seasons. But still consider DeJounte just kind of a contrarian tournament option. The rest of San Antonio, none of these guys stand out at their price points. So, yeah, I don't see too much else I like here. Let's move on to the next game. Last two games of the night, Toronto and Phoenix. So, looking at Toronto, they're pretty much fully healthy except for, they still don't have OG Anunoby right now. But, Siakam's healthy, Van Vliet's healthy. Anytime you have Toronto on a slate, they're always viable. The main guys are always viable. Siakam, Van Vliet, Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent. Just because if it's a close game, you're going to get big minutes from all four of those guys. But I will say this is a tougher matchup against Phoenix. I think this game does have a little bit of blowout risk. I don't see too much I like on the Raptors today. I think you're just kind of looking at like low on dart throws here. Maybe Van Vliet, if I had to play anyone, he might be my favorite play from the Raptors. But yeah, there's not much that stands out from Toronto today. Looking at pricing specifically on Draftkings. And then on the Phoenix side, without Chris Paul, that still opens up a lot of opportunity for guys like Devin Booker, Cameron Payne. I think Devin Booker at 8,900 is still a little bit too cheap without Chris Paul. Lastly, I thought he was a little bit too cheap after it was confirmed that he was playing. He played 33 minutes in a game they won pretty easily against Miami, had 55 Draftkings points. This matchup against Toronto, I don't think is great by any means. Toronto's been pretty good at stopping guards this year. Nick Nurse does a really good job at kind of slowing down the opposing team's best player. But I still think Devin Booker's role without Chris Paul is going to be massive. He's going to play a ton of minutes, going to have the ball in his hands a ton, should take a ton of shots. He's my favorite play from Phoenix. DeAndre Ayton is 7,200. I think it's a fine play as well. He's shown a little bit more of a ceiling lately. I think his opportunity, his usage without Chris Paul should be up a little bit. Don't hate Ayton at 7,200, but like Cameron Payne, now that Booker's back and he's 7K, I'm not really interested in Cameron Payne, not really interested in Mikal Bridges or Jay Crowder. I mean, Devin Booker's the one guy I like from Phoenix. Ayton's fine, and that's probably it from the Suns. So let's talk about the last game of the night, the Wizards and the Lakers. Look at the Wizards today. Kyle Kuzma, revenge game for him against the Lakers. Like, Kuzma, I think, is a fine play at 8,800. Doesn't really stand out on this slate. It is a good matchup, but I think with Porzingis, now playing, I think that does kind of hurt Kuzma a little bit. Definitely hurts his ceiling a little bit. And at 8,800, I mean, you're going to need that. You're going to need 50-plus Draftkings points from Kuzma for him to be worth his salary. Does he have that upside in this matchup? I think he absolutely does. But I just think it's not as likely for him to go for 50-plus when he's playing with Porzingis. And then Porzingis, in the two games he's played with the Wizards, he's been really productive. 36 DK points in 21 minutes. Last game, 28 DK points in 26 minutes. We can't really consider Porzingis right now until he's off this minutes limit. We don't know when he's going to be off this minutes limit, so this will be something to monitor. If you told me that Porzingis could play like 35, 36 minutes today, I would like him a lot in this matchup against the Lakers. I'm just not confident that he's going to get those minutes. I think they're slowly going to ramp up his minutes. He probably plays like 28, 29 minutes today. At 7,300, that's not going to be enough for me. But if we do get word that Porzingis is not limited anymore, then yeah, I would be fine firing him up in what should be, or in what is a really good matchup against the Lakers. The rest of the Wizards, though, KCP, Ish Smith, Denny Avia, Neto, like I just really never play these guys, and on a 10-game slate, none of them really stand out to me. So let's move on to the other side of this game and hit on the Lakers real quick before we do end the video. So on the Lakers side, LeBron is once again questionable. He's been questionable the last few games. Obviously, he sat out that game against San Antonio. He was questionable last game against Houston, ultimately wound up played 45 minutes in overtime. I mean, LeBron, like right now, with how this Lakers team is, they have to play LeBron 40 minutes a night. They just don't have a choice. If they want to win games, if they want to make the play-in, they're going to need LeBron to just manage a massive, massive workload. At 11-8, I know LeBron's really expensive, but I think he's a very, very good pay-up option today. He's just going to have to play so many freaking minutes. He's going to get so much usage, especially without Anthony Davis still. I would probably put LeBron behind Luka, but I definitely think LeBron is a good pay-up option, assuming he plays. If he doesn't play by some chance, then obviously Westbrook would benefit, Malik Monk, THT, Carmelo, all those guys would benefit. Obviously, I'm expecting LeBron to play, but you could go to those guys if they are out, or if LeBron is out. Westbrook finally had a good game last game. It's very weird that LeBron returns and then Westbrook has a good game. The game before that, when LeBron was out, Westbrook was terrible, and then LeBron comes back and Westbrook's now good again. But it was at least good to see Westbrook play well last game. Revenge game here against his former team. I would probably only consider Westbrook today if LeBron sits. If LeBron plays, I'm not really considering any other Lakers. Maybe Malik Monk you could still go to. But yeah, that's probably it from the Lakers. There's not much here that I like outside of LeBron. So that's it for that game, and that's it for all 10 of these Friday night games. So I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. I appreciate you watching. I wish you the best of luck tonight. If you guys enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Again, go check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. If you have not yet, go sign up for PrizePicks and use promo code NOAH when you do. And PrizePicks will give you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And I will have my PrizePicks video posted on Friday, sometime around noon, around lunchtime. I'll get that video up, sharing a couple of my favorite plays on PrizePicks for today. So if you guys already play on PrizePicks, you want to know a few of my favorite plays, I will have a video up that I will share some of my favorite plays with you guys. But as always, I appreciate you guys checking out the video. Appreciate all your support. Best of luck on this Friday night slate. Hope you guys have a good weekend, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.